All right, so big news came out the other day, y'all. I'm sure you've all seen it by now. Hunter Biden has been found guilty in a federal gun case. So let me walk you through the facts of the case, for those of you who don't know. Then I'm going to get to Biden has broken his silence on it, and I'll give you his comment. All right, so this is in Axios. Hunter Biden found guilty in federal gun case. Hunter Biden was found guilty on all charges Tuesday in his federal gun trial that began earlier in June, making him the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime. The president's son now faces sentencing and possibly prison as his father seeks re-election. Lowell, that's the attorney of Hunter Biden, Lowell, in a statement after the verdict, said, "We are naturally disappointed by today's verdict. We respect the jury process, and as we have done throughout this case, we will continue to vigorously pursue all the legal challenges available to Hunter." Hunter said that he is, quote, "more grateful today for the love and support he has experienced from his family and friends than he is disappointed by the outcome." Hunter Biden faces up to 25 years in prison with 3 charges, although as a first-time offender, it's unlikely he will receive the maximum sentence. A sentencing date has not yet been set. The federal gun trial is one of 2 that Hunter Biden is set to face before the November election and has taken a heavy emotional toll on the close-knit Biden family. Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty to charges against him. Jury deliberation in the trial lasted for about 3 hours. The verdict came in so quickly that many members of the Biden family, including the First Lady, were not present when it was announced. Hunter was almost motionless when the verdict was announced, staring straight ahead until he gave a few slight nods at the end. Afterward, he hugged his lawyer, Abe Lowell, and some of the others on his team, kissed his wife, and left quickly. Hunter Biden was accused of illegally purchasing and possessing a firearm in 2018 while using a narcotic. Prosecutors argued that he was knowingly using drugs at the time that he purchased his gun, but said otherwise on the federal form. Defense lawyers countered that Hunter had recently gone to rehab in California several weeks before he bought the gun, and there was reasonable doubt that he had been using crack cocaine around the time he purchased it. The extraordinary trial, the first for a sitting president's son, featured intimate details about the Biden family, including testimony from Hunter's former romantic partners. The trial also touched on issues of social class, sex, and addiction. With many members of the Biden clan in the audience, the prosecution portrayed Hunter as a rich, dishonest crack addict, while the defense argued he was a well-intentioned, family-oriented man struggling with a disease. Look, you gotta keep it real, son. You have to keep it real. Which one of these descriptions is more accurate? Be honest. Is Hunter a rich, dishonest crack addict, or is he a well-intentioned, family-oriented man? I think the part that's more important is to say rich and dishonest. The crack addict part, I agree that that could be a psychological issue, a chemical imbalance type issue. You can, I think, reasonably view that as addiction being a disease, right? So really, to me, rich, dishonest sounds much more correct than well-intentioned family man, right? Anyway, let's continue. Beyond the basic facts surrounding the gun purchase, many of the prosecution's witnesses offered testimony that appeared designed to make the jury question Hunter's character. Beau Biden's widow, Hallie Biden, who had a romantic relationship with Hunter, testified that her brother-in-law introduced her to crack and would often lie about where he was and what he was doing. Damn, so just so everybody understands here, Hunter's brother died. Then, and Beau was his name. Then Hunter started hooking up with Beau's widow and introduced her to crack. Damn, son. Kathleen Booley, Hunter's ex-wife, testified that she regularly cleaned out his car after they divorced in 2017 because her daughters would borrow it, and she didn't want them driving in a car that contained drugs. To the largely working-class jury that Hunter had the prosecution also noted to the largely working-class jury that Hunter had millions of dollars in income in this period. Both during the trial and in their closing, prosecutors emphasized that he had withdrawn $151,000 in cash alone in the 3 months of 2018 surrounding the gun purchase. Prosecutors also had Zoe Keston, a former dancer at a gentleman's club who Hunter had dated when she was 24, testify that Hunter was loose with money, including giving her $800 to buy clothes as gifts for his daughters, who she knew were around her age. By the way, interesting fact to point out here. Me and Crystal, near our old apartment in D.C., sometimes you'd park on K Street and then go walk to the apartment. And when you did that, you would pass a gentleman's club. And I remember walking by that with Crystal one time, and Crystal was like, yeah, by the way, reportedly, Hunter had gone to this club all the time, this gentleman's club, which was right by our old apartment in DC. So, like, he was a mainstay at this gentleman's club. Every time I passed it, it wasn't open yet. You know, like, I would be there in, like, mid-morning or something, and of course it shut down mid-morning. But, like, it was, that was interesting to me. Like, oh, really? This is the place where Hunter gets all of his debauchery on? Interesting. Lowell noted to the jury that both Hallie and Keston had been promised immunity. He questioned some of the details of Hallie's testimony, given that she had been a user of drugs, though she testified she had been sober for 2 months when she found the gun. By the way, you can't, if you're Hunter's lawyer, you can't do that. You can't say, hey, the drug addiction of this witness means you discount their testimony, but also take my drug addict's word for it. Like, that, literally, that makes no sense, man. You can't do that. You can't do that. Okay, so what are my thoughts on this? Well, I don't know. I might surprise some of you, but I think the true longtime viewers will probably be able to guess where I'm coming from on this. I actually support him being found guilty. I do. And it's not because I think this particular law is reasonable. You know, I think you could have an interesting debate and discussion over whether or not this law makes sense, right? Is the idea that if you've ever used drugs ever, you should not be allowed to own a gun? I don't know. To me, that seems like a stretch. I think it's much more reasonable. If you're going to do gun reform, you should have universal background checks, but, you know, the stuff that you would make it so they can't get a gun for would be like a criminal record, right? He doesn't have a criminal record. I'm not sure using drugs is one of those things that should sort of say you can't have a gun ever now because you use drugs. I mean, we have legal alcohol. People could drink alcohol all day and own a gun, and it's no problem. But if you do other substances, it is a problem. By the way, one other fact, something on Twitter went viral where one of the people in the case said that Hunter smokes crack in the morning. And then a bunch of, like, right-wing sites tried to make a big deal out of, he smokes crack in the morning. And it's like, guys, I don't know how to break it to you, but we all know we smoke crack, right? Of all the times to smoke crack, the morning would be the way to do it. It's a massive upper. What do you want him to do it at night? Like, we all knew he smoked crack, so that wasn't like the bombshell. The bombshell people was he had it in the morning. That actually seems more responsible to me than having it at night. If you have it in the morning and you're like high as balls all day on an upper, running in 1,000 different directions, and then maybe by night you go to sleep, right? If you have it at night, Jesus Christ, you're going to be up all night. Anyway, that's a random digression. But the reason why I support him being found guilty is because it's honestly the same logic that I use for Trump. I don't think the hush money case is the biggest gotcha on Trump. I don't. But the fact of the matter is the guy's committed 78 other crimes, and I support getting him on anything. So just like we always say, they got Al Capone on tax evasion. Was that his biggest crime? Fuck no. He did a bunch of murders and shit. But that's what they were able to get him on, right? So I support them getting Trump on the hush money bullshit, and I support them getting Hunter on this bullshit. So really, even though I understand the argument, hey, on the particulars of this case or the particulars of this law, it really isn't all that fair, I understand that completely. But it is very, very rare that we have some elite in this country get held accountable. And with Trump, we saw it, and now with Hunter, we saw it. Hunter is definitely a fail son. Hunter has definitely profited off of his dad's name. He's definitely done a lot of corrupt dealings. By the way, I don't want to hear it if you're somebody who thinks, yeah, Jared Kushner is super corrupt, and the Trump family is super corrupt, but the Biden family isn't? No. They're both corrupt. And there's tremendous evidence to back up that claim. I don't care what any resistance liberal says. If you look into the Burisma stuff, why the fuck would a Ukrainian energy company pay Hunter hundreds of thousands of dollars? Is he an expert in energy? No, he knows dick about that. Obviously, it's pay to play. Obviously, it's attempt to get an audience with Joe Biden. Now, whether or not Joe actually went along with it, all reports seem to indicate he did kind of look at his son like, you're a fail son and you're a mess and I don't want to be involved in your schemes. All the evidence points to that. But Hunter himself would wake up and commit 3 crimes before breakfast, do 3 different versions of corruption because he can't help himself. So I understand not being down with this particular law, but also I like that he's going down on something, right? Now, what will the punishment be? I don't know yet. And nobody knows yet. But it'll be interesting to see. They said it could get up to 25 years. He's not going to because it's a first-time offense and he's the president's son. But is he going to get some time behind bars? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it'll just be community service. Maybe it'll be probation. It's kind of honestly, it's a very similar situation to Trump where none of us really know what's going to go down. Where, maybe there could be some time behind bars. Maybe not. We'll have to see. But I'd be lying to you guys if I said I didn't want to see both Trump and Hunter get some time behind bars. Some time behind bars. Okay. So now let's get to Joe Biden's response, because I find this very interesting. President Joe Biden said he remains proud of his son Hunter following his conviction on 3 felony gun charges. The president released a statement on Tuesday in support of his son and echoing a previous vow to stay clear of the case. A Delaware jury found Hunter Biden guilty on all 3 counts he was facing. Prosecutors accused the president's son of lying about a drug addiction while obtaining a firearm in 2018. As I said last week, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son. We are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride, seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. As I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with love and support. Nothing will ever change that. Okay. So now what's interesting, though, is so this is a standard fatherly comment, but he also made clear I'm not going to be pardoning or commuting anything for Hunter. So he's saying, look, I'll do anything for him, but he's also saying, but not that. But I'm not going to pardon you. I'm not going to commute you. I actually give him a lot of credit for saying whatever the sentence is, it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm not going to pardon him. I'm biased, basically. I actually respect that. I respect that because damn well Trump has already not done that with the crimes of his underlings, right? He pardoned Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon was part of a massive fraud campaign where they shook down Trump's own supporters to privately pay for a border wall on GoFundMe, and they stole the money. And Trump pardoned his ass. So Trump has pardoned a lot of these assholes who work for him, who are criminals, and because he's a fucking gangster, he's a criminal, right? This is Biden being like, I'm literally going to do the opposite of that. Whatever they give him, I'm going to let that be the case. So now you could say that action sort of contradicts the loving father thing, but I don't know, maybe I actually don't think it does. He's saying, look, I love him, I'm proud of him, whatever, but you did the crime, now you're going to do the time type stuff. Now, the other thing is, and this point you can't escape, is like, Joe Biden was the guy who brought us those harsh sentencing for drug stuff, right? And so now, we're proud of him, we love him, addiction's a disease. That ain't what you were fucking saying in the 1990s. You were saying, don't pass go, bitch, go straight to jail, it's a wrap. You should be locked up. You should be locked up for an extended period of time. So there's definitely like a disparity in terms of like his sympathetic rhetoric versus what the policies are that he's pursued. Now, we're going to do a segment in just a little bit, by the way, on the Republican reaction to this, because it's actually really interesting. It is really interesting. Some of them are defending Hunter, and others are not. But there's none of them are just taking the W, right? Like you'd think Republicans would be, yes, they got Hunter on something. Yay, hooray. Literally none of them are doing that. All right, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so Hunter has officially been found guilty. Like I said, the particulars of this law, I think you can debate whether or not it's a reasonable law. I understand when people say they don't think it's a reasonable law or they're only going after him because he's powerful. But I actually have the opposite view. It's very rare you go after an elite and succeed. They did it with Trump. Now they're doing it with Hunter. And by the way, this also blows up the notion that like Joe Biden is the puppet master and he's pulling all the strings, bro. It's a witch hunt and they're going after Trump unfairly, bro. It's like, really? This is the masterful move? They're going to take down my own damn son, but I'm somehow the grand chess master? No, the reality is what the conservatives say the other half the time. He's really old. His brain isn't working that well. He can barely get out of bed. He has to go to bed at probably 5 o'clock. He's got all these horrific videos of him barely being able to walk or barely being able to talk. That is much more accurate than the evil genius behind the scenes pulling the strings and going after Trump. He's got nothing to do with those cases, bro. Nothing to do. So really, again, it really blows up the narrative that like, oh, this is part of his devious, dastardly plan. No, it's not. And by the way, let's be clear. This is the federal government going after Hunter. This is his Department of Justice going after Hunter. In theory, you think, hey, if I pick up the phone and make a call to Merrick Garland, they'll drop this shit. Wrong. He didn't pick up the phone. He didn't make the call. And even if he did, Merrick Garland would probably tell him to piss off. So, I don't know. There's some food for thought for everybody there. But Hunter found guilty. I'm sorry. I support him going down on something. He is a criminal. He's done a lot of corruption. There's no doubt about that. I think if you don't believe that, I think you're very, very naive. And I file it under the same category as Trump. The hush money stuff was not Trump's biggest crime, but he committed so many big crimes. I'll take any, you can get him on anything and I'll take it, right? That's where I am with this one as well. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.